guys, hope you're having a great day today. All right, it is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you. This is the day that I keep my videos a little bit shorter, just so it makes my life a little bit easier. So today is the day that I'm going to challenge you to do something this week to help add some value to your life, to help weed out your life, all those good things, right? It's from Less Stuff, More Life, my book. It's not sponsored. Can I sponsor my own book? It's not sponsored, it's free. It's free. Go on the link in the description below. You can download it for free. It's just a simple PDF. Back in the day, I was a blogger and I wrote 52 different blog entries. And as most bloggers do, they turn their blog entries into a book form. And that is what I did with Less Stuff, More Life. And it was all about just weeding out your life physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's just 52 different changes you can make. Sometimes they're simple, sometimes they're a little bit harder to do, take a little bit more time. Sometimes you go, this is great, Amy, or sometimes you're like, I'm not doing that, and that's completely fine. So this week, I'm going to do this challenge, and this is something that it's important to do, I think, and can help a whole lot of people around in your circle of influence, and it's to bless others. One of my favorite Bible verses, I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up, is Luke 6:38, and it's, give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over shall men give into your bosom, for with the same measure that you give, it shall be measured to you again. And so I love that, because it is, I want that pressed down, shaken together, like when you get like a container with your, your drink, and you put all that ice in there and you put some stuff, you got to kind of push it down and shake it together so you can put a little bit more in there, keep shoving and shoving and shoving. Right, yeah, that's good. Same kind of concept. You want to press down, ooh, is that a bug? Press down, shaking together. You want something that's overflowing in your life, but you have to give to get that back. It's not like a you give, you receive, but it shows that your heart is not so hard into give me, give me, give me. It's saying, here, I'm going to bless others, so that God can say, look, I'm going to do this for other people. You can see your heart is a giving heart. And then in turn, God will bless you as well. And I'm sure that by looking at your own life, you can easily see that you're blessed. Now, you may not have a big home. You can, I can look at other people's homes and go, oh my goodness, that's like a mansion. And it's like, I don't have that big of a home. Or you might look and say, wow, that person has this car, or they have this, or they have all these things in their life. And then you look and you're like, I don't have this. But if you stop looking at everybody else, that's the number one thing. You gotta learn to be content with you and your life inside of right now, no matter what situation you are in, no matter what kind of home, no matter what kind of physical material things you have. You need to stop and you need to look and go, okay, what do I have? I think I remember way back in the day, I listened to a radio show. It was the Wally Show. They used to be on. He's still on. I know my daughter Jaden listens to it. And he, at one time, they were doing like a raising money for the radio station. And I remember he went on, and I wish I would have been able to Google it and find it, but it was something like, if you had a McDonald's cheeseburger this week, then you are better than like 3/4 of the population of the world, because most people cannot. Or if you make over whatever $10 an hour, then you are doing better than 9 out of 10 people in the world, something like that. I don't know what the numbers are, so don't quote me, but it was something like that, where we think that we don't have anything. It's more of our choices. Majority of the world live a whole lot less than we do in our lives. Most people don't put landscape flowers out in their yard. Most people aren't going to the discount grocery store, finding different snacks here and there. Most people are just trying to figure out how to get one meal to their family each day, right? We have so much in our world. Most people don't go to their closet and have to go through their clothes and weed them out because there's too many clothes in their closet, right? Or walk into their kids' room and have to step on toys all day long because there's too many toys in their room. That's not what the majority of our world is. We have so much in our life materially. So because of this, we must consider, you must consider yourself blessed, because you have plenty. You have your needs taken care of, and probably a lot of your wants. Maybe not all your wants. I got some wants, but my needs are definitely taken care of. And why do we make this change? Why do we need to make this change? You know what the Bible says? The Bible says in Luke 12:48, for unto whom much is given, unto him much is required. And sometimes we look at that and we think, well, that person's rich, so God gives them a lot, so he expects so much more. Well, do you know that God, and a lot of people, like, if they don't have enough money for tithing, you don't have enough money to give, and you just have $20, and and you think, but that's $20. God can see your heart. Like, will you tithe that $20, or will you tithe that dollar, or will you tithe where you want to give, even if you don't have it to give? In the Bible, it talks about the widow and her mite, right, where she gave all that she had, and whoever, the Pharisees or whoever was staring at her, and they're like, look at it, it was 2 pennies or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm messing the Bible story up here. Really good job, Amy. But it was about her heart and giving, and Jesus looked at the men, and they're like, because they were like, is it really a value, those two, I'm gonna say 2 pennies? And he's like, look at, she has given all of her heart because that's all she had. But she's giving that on to the Lord as an offering. Same thing with the person that's got a whole lot more money. God requires them to give it as much too. Just because people make more money than you, it's just that their bills are higher. They still have the same situation, same lifestyle. Your heart is still the same. You still have to make the decision to either give or not give. And I know from my own self, when I started to give more, not just financially, but of myself and of my resources, things like that, I did see, okay, God doing the same thing in my own life. But it took me taking some things to do to see that in action. So let me give you 10 different ways that you can give to others today. Does that sound good? Let's do 10 simple things. Sound good? Okay. All right, number 1, make a meal for a family. Make a meal for a family. It doesn't have to be elaborate and awesome and like big giant, you know, making my favorite thing like a stuffed shell or a manicotti where you gotta slave over and do that. No, but you know what you can do? You can make a pot of soup and double it a little bit and then put some in a bag with a homemade bread, or if not homemade bread, a loaf of bread, $1 at the store, like the good bread, Italian custard bread, and give it to another family. You can make a dinner for your family, whether it be lasagna or spaghetti, and make it a little bit extra, and then give it to somebody. You can bless somebody with a meal. I know back in Michigan, we had a lot of kids. I mean, we still have a lot of kids, but back then, you know, money was a lot tighter when you were starting out and you have all these kids, and they cost, food and water cost a lot of money. So I remember this is when I was being taught about tithing and learning about giving and all these things. We were newer Christians, and so we just weren't introduced to all of these things, and we wanted to get out of this financial rut we were in, and I was like, okay, but I don't have any money to give. Well, I didn't think I had any money to give, but I was like, but we would do a Gather Your Fragment. Wednesday was our baking day, and I remember you can even go back to my blog post. You can see pictures of little Brookie being little and Jaden being little. And we would do a meal. We would do a, what do we call it? We called it a hospitality meal. We would make an extra meal of something or more baked goods or whatever we had, and we would take it to a neighbor every single week. That was something we just did. It didn't cost much. Maybe we made cinnamon rolls. You know, like $1 is a whole bag of flour. And so it costs pennies to be able to do something like that. It doesn't have to be an elaborate thing. Think of something simple and basic, but that was something that we did, and it was like, okay, that was easy to do. And then we just blessed somebody else. But it was doing that and teaching my kids that and showing them that. Then God can see your heart, and He's like, okay, that's something I can work with right there. All right, number 2, I remember watching this on TV at one time. Like I used to watch Oprah. I don't anymore, but I did when I had TV way back when I was first a newlywed. I remember her talking about doing things for service workers, like your garbage man, your mail person. Now, I don't know so much if you can do this now because with everything going on, but I remember doing like a cold drink and leaving it for our garbage person. We lived in the city, and the mail person would come up to your door, the garbage people would come, it was like right there, and leaving like a hot cup of coffee for, you know, getting those disposable containers and doing a hot cup of coffee for the workers. Or, you know, you can do gift cards. You can do like dollar gas station. Think of the local gas station and give them, you know, gift card to go get a hot coffee or a cold drink or a bottle that was closed of lemonade or whatever. Something like that, because those people are out working all day long. And my mail lady, Julie, she's awesome. She's coming, and when the hot days, it's hot days when you drive around, and she got to drive up my driveway. She's got to do all these things, and I think, okay, how awesome to be able to bless her with a cold drink. So bless your service worker in your life with something cold or hot, depending on your weather and your work. If you can right now, I don't know. You might have to do a bottled single serve thing, wipe down in bleach or something. I don't know. All right, number 3, this is the easy one. People do this, call it pay it forward. Bless the person behind you in line at the drive-thru. Simple. This is a big thing. Everybody does it. I know my own son Evan, just last week he did that. He was feeling, it was great. It was great because the Lord was leading him not to go somewhere and then led him to go somewhere else, and he went, and he's like, yeah, started talking to this guy, older man, just in line, and he goes, and he paid for my lunch. And I was like, look at that. I said, isn't God awesome? I said, look how cool though. He said, yeah, because I didn't expect it. I wasn't going to go there to eat, and I did, and he got himself a free meal. So I know that's happened to me before. I know when I had young kids, I was grocery shopping one time, and we have a lot of kids and we have a lot of groceries. You never want to get behind the lady with, 2-3 carts of groceries, because the Lord might say to you, hey, pay for that person's grocery. Don't worry, you don't have to be afraid to get behind me. I'm good, got my grocery money now. But back in the day when it was a lot more tighter, I remember the lady paying for, I had I had a lot of kids. I had my big giant stroller with 4 kids packed in it, and I had 2 or 3 kids walking. I don't even remember, but there was a lot. But I was probably just like a hot mess with a lot of kids and insanity, because it was insanity. But I remember a person paying for my groceries, and I was like, wow. And I'm like, that was and there was a lot of groceries, and I was like, that was very, very sweet, but it was just the Lord telling them to do this. So sometimes you're shopping, and the Lord might look and be like, pay for that person's groceries, and you're like, what? God, just don't get behind the Maryon family. Because we got a lot of groceries, people. Just kidding. No, we're fine. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. All right, something simple you can do is pray for someone. Pray. Sometimes God will just put it in your spirit to think about a person. Do you ever just sit and you, like, God just brings to mind a person, and you're like, oh, whatever that person's doing, you don't really think much of it. Well, take that person, maybe God's put it on your heart to pray for them. Maybe they're dealing with something in their life, or they're struggling with something, and the Lord just wants, they just need some extra prayers to cover them, prayers for peace. Sometimes the Bible talks a lot about the Spirit utters, and sometimes it utters inwardly and groans, because sometimes we don't know what we're praying for. So we don't know what's going on in everybody's lives. God doesn't just reveal it to you and say, oh, I know this person's going through a marriage struggle, so pray for them. No, you just need to pray for them. Pray for them for strength, for wisdom. Lord, I don't know what I'm praying for. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to pray for this person. I just pray that you just cover them, and you just surround them with your peace, your joy. If something's going wrong financially, Lord, bless them. Pray for somebody. Praying for somebody's huge. Prayers do get answered. And you hear about those prayer chains when things go wrong and how God will move, and God will do it. So pray. If God puts somebody in your heart, you're thinking about somebody randomly, and you're like, okay, I don't know why I'm thinking about the person. Pray for them. Pray for them first. This is easy. Number 5, write a letter of appreciation to someone. Ask God, who can I write a letter to thank for things? I've had plenty of people in my life, especially when I was a heathen, that went above and beyond. I'm sure they were Christians, and they helped add value to my life. They were either an encouragement, or they did something, and it just hugely blessed me, or put an imprint on me to want to be better, or to do the right thing. And so think of people, maybe it was a teacher back in school. Seriously, think about a teacher. I mean, like 25, 30 years ago, that's a long time. I'm old. And maybe there's somebody that made a significant impact in your life. Write them a letter. Do you know how nice it would be to get, like, think if you did your life and you just think you're doing your thing and you just don't really think about it, but you get a letter 10, 15 years later from a student you had, or a person that you met, or something somebody did for you, you did for somebody else a long time ago, and they just said thank you. Thank you for doing. You don't even realize what an impact it is. I've done that many times. I know I've had a good friend, and I remember at one time I was having a hard struggle in my life, and she just said, the only part I remember of her letter, the only part, she sent me an email, and I remember the only thing I remember was the line, it was never condemning, it was never doing, you got to do this, where everybody was telling me I need to do something. She just said, I don't know what God has for you, because I'm not God. She said, but all I can do is pray for you, and I can pray that God would show you, and that you would do what he told you to do. And that's the only line I remember. But that made such an impact on me, because it wasn't like you got to do something, you got to do what people are telling you to do. It was listen to God and be willing and obedient to do it. And I was like, and that has made, that statement, that was, I'm going to say 15 years ago, probably about 15, 16 years ago. And I still remember that line in that email, because that made a huge impact on my own life, for me making decisions to go forward and to seek the Lord with all my heart for what he's had. And now I go, wow, look at what God has done. Look at what God has done with my life, compared to 15 years ago when I was struggling and thinking I didn't even know what my future was going to be. So do that. You got something in your life God's put in your heart, make that choice to write them that thank you, because you don't know. And it might just be silly, and you might be thinking, why am I writing this letter? And I even talked to this person, and she's like, I don't even remember what I said in the email. And I said, well, I do. That one line. I said, whatever the rest of the email said, I don't even know, but that one line I remember very much. So write yourself a letter. All right, number 6, volunteer. Volunteering is the greatest thing to do. We volunteer the whole thing is going crazy right now, but we normally, typical week, we volunteer. We volunteered at our church for our kids ministry, and that's something that I do love it. God's put on my heart to do it, and I love it. Absolutely love being able to minister to kids and being there for them when, like the person that was there for me. And so volunteer. We used to back in the day when my kids are older. Steven's going to be 8 this year. I can do these things still. Don't think, oh, I got to go volunteer and leave my babies behind and my toddlers and leave them all up to my husband. No, unless God's telling you to do that, then do it. But I know back in the day, I sound like an old lady. Back in the day when I was a wee young person, no, I'm just kidding. Back in the day, something we would do every single year, which was awesome, was every Christmas, no matter what kind of kids I had, we would go to our local nursing home. I know you can't do that now, but we would do that every single Christmas. Back in the day, we would have a gathering of all of our homeschool friends. Not all, a lot of them. We would meet at somebody's house, and we would do a huge
craft making and cookie decorating day. So we would just give the simple cup cookies, like round sugar cookies. They were from Gordon's back in the day. I don't know if they even have a Gordon food supply anymore, but we would just get simple sugar cookies, and then the kids, they'd have to wash their hands. Everybody wash their hands. And remember, no licking the sprinkles, kids. No licking the sprinkles. No licking your knives. That was the rule we laid down. And then they decorated these cookies. We would have hundreds of cookies, and the kids would have fun decorating them. And then we would make simple crafts, like we'd have each family bring a different craft, and just random ones. Some was just construction paper or cardstock. We'd make cards. We would do crafts like what is that, Oriental trading crafts, just simple things. Or we, some mom would look an idea up, and then we would follow it and do it, just something simple. But the kids would make tons of crafts. Okay, so then we would take it the next day, or the 2 days later, and we would go to the local nursing home. We had this all set up before. We also prepared music and printed on paper, practice with kids. Simple Christmas songs. So we would go to our local nursing home. The kids would sing Christmas carols. Start out just kids just singing, they're off tune. And then later, as some of those kids got older, teenagers, they would play the guitars. We had guitar playing. I think Colin did. Colin played guitar. Greg came a couple of times, played guitar. And then the kids just sang Christmas songs, just simple one-line Christmas songs for everybody. And then we would they had a big giant hall, and all the elderly people sitting there, and we'd have different kids go around, sit next to an elderly person, and they'd have a cookie, they'd share a cookie. They weren't worried about germs, they were like loving it, who cares? And then they'd all get a craft that we gave to them, or a card, and then we would put together a marshmallow craft. And so we put in a little Ziploc bag 3 marshmallows. It was all to make a snowman. So I believe it's been a long time, like fruit by the roll for the scarf, little dots. We would use dots of frosting. We'd have tubes all over the tables for chocolate chips for the buttons. I think it was those candy stick-on eyes, like the stickers for the eyeballs. I don't even know what we did for the nose. Maybe a candy corn nose. It's been a long time. I'd have to look it up. You'd have to look back at my blog post. I'd have to see. But it was like that. We would do that. And then we put together this marshmallow. You wouldn't need it, but it was just something fun to do with elderly people. They didn't care what you did. They were in there, and to have kids come and just do that, just brighten their day hugely. And some would just talk, and some would just sit and smile and look at the kids, and that just brought such joy to their lives. So volunteer. Go volunteer to soup kitchen and serve. I have other friends that do that, and they just serve food to people, and that's just a huge blessing to somebody as well. So volunteer somewhere in your world. All right, number 7, financially bless somebody. You might not think you have extra money. You might have an extra $5. You might have an extra $10. Ask the Lord who you can give it to, and then just give it. Just do it. One of the things I've learned over the years, the Bible talks a lot about do not know what your left hand knows what your right hand is doing, or do not let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, whatever the way is in the Bible. But I was thinking about that before, and you know why? It's to protect. God says that. And it's not so much that you don't tithe. Like people like give, and then they're like, oh, look at me, I gave. No, you shouldn't do that. Tithing, that's part of like my testimony. Yeah, I tithe. I definitely tithe. I tithe, and I see how God will protect, and God will take care of you financially when you put Him first in your finances. That I am happy to share about. But when I give to somebody that's struggling financially, or just needs some extra money, or doesn't have enough groceries, and I buy those, that is what you do in secret. That's where God talks in the Bible about not letting your right hand know what your left hand is. You know why? Because people boast about it. People are like, look at me, and I say, and I hate to say that, because I know a lot of people do a lot of videos of like random acts of kindness and blessing people financially, and they do videos. At some point I think that's great, because it shows people, do this for somebody. Look how happy those people are. But I also believe in protecting the people you're giving it to. You know why? Because their integrity needs to be protected. Nobody needs to know that someone's struggling. Yes, probably very thankful for that, but if I was struggling, not be able to pay my groceries or pay for my kids to have food or clothing or whatever, and someone blessed me, I would feel much more like if they didn't broadcast it to the world. Does that make sense? Because it protects my dignity. It protects me as a person. And God says that in the Bible. When you give, don't let your right hand know what your left hand does. And that's because when you give to the poor and needy, it says, because it's protecting their integrity. And God will bless the giver for that. But it's not so that everybody has to know that person is financially hurt. So don't let anybody know. Do that in secret. Watch how God will hook you up. But don't be like, look at me and look what I do. People say, oh, you should give to, when people get things, you should give to charities and share. And I understand people that do that, but read your Bible. Go read. Don't take my word for it. It's not me making these rules up. Go read your Bible about what God says about offerings. about giving to the poor and needy. See what he says. He doesn't say to broadcast it to the world and share with everybody. There's a reason behind it. Protect those people. Protect their integrity. Number 8, an easy way to bless somebody is to send a text to them. Text, because we got texting. Send a simple text of thank you for what you're doing. Ruby's going to bark right here, isn't she? I hope you can hear me well. Send a text to somebody. Let them know how appreciative you are. Maybe your spouse, maybe your children. Something simple that just can bless their day. Or I was thinking about you today and praying. Look at the Bible verse, copy a Bible verse and send it to them. Something simple, send a text to somebody. Number 9, go through your house and donate something you do not need. You probably have too much in your house, probably more than likely in your garage, in your storage facility. There's probably something that you don't need. Go donate it to somebody. Bless somebody else. Get rid of your things. Some people say, I don't have anything to give. I don't have finances. Well, do you have things in your home that you can sow a seed and bless somebody? Sometimes things that you have might be something that somebody else wants. Maybe somebody else is praying for a new freezer or a freezer, and you've got 3 of them in your house and you don't even use them, and you're like, they're just whatever. Your used freezer that is still in good condition might be a huge blessing for a family that has nothing. So look it up. I know we used to do Craigslist. I don't think people do Facebook, right? Facebook Marketplace. Put it as free. Just free. Deliver it to them. Put it as free as, take it. Get something good. Don't give a couch that's got cat and dog pee all over it so it stinks so they have to clean it. Give something that you have that you just don't use. Bless somebody else. Take your nice designer clothes that you'll never wear. Don't drop them off at Goodwill. Go ask the Lord, who can I give these to? Maybe somebody your same size, and bless them. God will find somebody to use your stuff. I promise you. I know ourselves, people blessed us with things in our lives, and I'm like, wow, like tables, not this table, but we had a table. We didn't even have enough table space for our kids. Nobody knew that, but there was somebody, a family member that had a big, huge table, and they were thinking, and they're like, well, I could just do it to Goodwill, but they're like, oh, but Marion's, they have a lot of kids. And you know what? She called me and she said, can you use this table? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I could use that table. And it was beaten up, it was 20 years old, but I needed the table space. So yes, think of others. I'm sure there's gonna be somebody that you can give your stuff to. That's a good way to invest in somebody else's life. All right, number 10, an easy way to bless somebody, surprise a friend for maybe a birthday. You got a good friend, or maybe just an acquaintance or a coworker, or a sister or a brother or something. Surprise them for their birthday and bring them, find out their special lunch, favorite meal, favorite dessert, and surprise them. Take over. I know when we had a lot of kids, well, we always have a lot of kids, but I know back in the day when I was stay-at-home mom with tons of little babies, and my friend was home with tons of little babies, and it was her birthday, and I knew what her favorite thing is, so I just blessed her. I would just make a meal, make a lunch meal, and get a dessert, and we would take it over to her house and just spend the day, and we would enjoy. We'd have lunch and dessert. We still had 10,000 kids running around, still had babies hold to us, still pregnant, all these things, but I didn't do gifts, didn't do all this stuff because, you don't have money for that stuff, but just sharing a simple meal, and it was something simple, but we just enjoyed being together and just showing, hey, I appreciate you. And it doesn't have to be a birthday. Surprise a mom. You got a mom that's a good friend of yours, stay at home, say, hey, tomorrow afternoon, well, make sure it's not nap time, because nap time is the worst, but tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'm going to come over for 2 hours. Set a time limit, because sometimes when you say you're going to go to people's houses and they've got a lot of kids, all they can go is, okay, are they going to get out of here at lunchtime? It's nap time. Myself, nap time was huge for little kids. Think about this. Think about other people that have little kids. Nap time is probably so important in their home. I get it. From 1 to 3 in my house when I had little kids, I didn't answer the door. I shut off my phone. I didn't allow any kind of interruptions because that was crucial to having sanity in my life. So work around nap time and go, okay, I'm going to come from 11 to 1. At 1 o'clock, I'm leaving, I promise. Or 12:30 or 12:45, so I'm not in your way. Make that super important. Even though you're having a great conversation, life is going good, and they're like, oh, no, stay. They're being kind. They really want you to leave because nap time is important. And say, nope, I got to go. Get your kids rolling. Okay, I've got a half hour left. Get them rolling. Clean up the house. Do not leave someone's house a mess. Clean it up. Offer to clean it up. Leave the food there so they got some extras, and then go. Always make extras so the mom doesn't have to make dinner, because probably when you were there, you were interrupting her time to make dinner. So make enough so that she has enough dinner for when her husband gets home and enough to feed her kids. Okay, remember that. Even dessert, make some extra dessert so she can have some the next day, or enjoy it when she's all alone, because it's great to eat with a friend, but sometimes later on you're like, oh, I really wish I had another chocolate cookie, and I didn't get to enjoy mine because I was visiting. So leave extra food, extra dessert, so that later on she doesn't have to make that. But think about that nap time. Don't interrupt the nap time for that mom. So that's an easy way you can surprise a friend and bless them. And the best way that we can know how to bless somebody is ask God. God, who put somebody in my heart to do something for? Maybe you have no idea. And it might be somebody as like the librarian, or your local fire department, or that lady that you see every single day when you go to the library and she's sitting there by herself. I don't know. Ask the Lord. The Lord will direct you to who you can bless. Something I challenge you to do this week. I know it's made a huge impact on my own life when I started doing it. We stopped being selfish. Not even that you're selfish, but you start giving. Giving because let your heart open up and help others. That's what we should do. We should be helping others, loving others. Giving is a great way to do that. So bless somebody this week. You're gonna go do that. Your challenge is go bless somebody. So, all right, I'm gonna go bless somebody as well this week. So you have a fantastic rest of your day. Go be a blessing. Take one of these things this week and go be a blessing to someone in your world. All right, we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.